Oh. Good evening. We'll call this meeting of the Beaumont Economic Development Committee to order at 4:06 p.m. Ms. Wheelwright, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mayor White,
Here.
Councilmember Lara, City Manager Todd Parton, Economic Development Manager Warzinski,
Here.
Chair Lawson,
Present.
Vice Chair Rader,
Present.
Member Beneke, oh, I think you're still on mute, Mr. Beneke. But I see you. I'm going to mark you present.
Present. I'm unmuted
you.
now.
Okay, great. Member Ahmed,
Here.
Member Brown, Member Getka,
Here.
Member Coughlin, he stated he would be absent. Member Moran,
Present.
Member Vince, and BUSD student Segovia. Okay, oh, and alternate member Fregoso. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Wheelwright. And you reported to us already any requests for excused absences. At this time, I'm going to ask, Ms. Rader, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Ms. Rader. Ms. Wheelwright, do we have any adjustments to the agenda, please?
I have no adjustments.
And have we received any conflict of interest disclosures?
I've received none.
Do we have any public comments at this time?
I have no written comments. Olivia, do we have anyone on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Thank you. At this time, we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. We'll give you a moment to review, and then we will entertain or open the floor for a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we would approve the minutes as they stand. Ms. Wheelwright, would you please call the roll?
Mayor White,
Yes.
Economic Development Manager Warzinski,
Yes.
Chair Lawson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rader,
Yes.
Member Ahmed,
Yes.
Member Beneke,
Yes.
Member Getka,
Aye.
and Member Moran.
Yes.
Nicole, Councilman Lara is here now.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Lara, would you like to vote on this item, or do you want to?
Yes.
I wasn't sure when you walked in, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wheelwright. The minutes have been approved as offered. At this time, we'll move to action item number 2, continue the downtown business and landowners to promote business growth and development in the Central Business District. Of course, the idea is to discuss ideas and options to assist downtown business and landowners to promote business growth and development in the Central Business District. I'm going to defer to Mr. Warzinski for further explanation on this item.
Thank you, committee chair, members of the committee. So at the last meeting, we really performed a kickoff for the concept of discussing the downtown specific plan. as well as the vision of the city council for that area. And you received a presentation with various slides that depict the different zoning regulations, as well as streetscapes, architectural concepts, really revolving around the city council's vision for that downtown area. As part of those discussions, I had jotted down a couple different items to be discussed at future meetings, so we can go ahead and tackle any of those tonight, or we can choose one or two to go over those types of things. Also wanted to let the Economic Development Committee know that as a result of the discussions, both at the city council level and at the Economic Development Committee level, a couple of the local business owners and landowners within the area have volunteered their place of business for a meeting, for a kickoff event for the downtown businesses themselves, and that will be held on March the 24th at 6 p.m. at the Craft Lounge. So staff has been working on sending out letters from the mayor and personally calling or walking into the various downtown businesses to encourage their participation, to kind of let them know what we are planning on doing at the event, and really encouraging them to attend, to provide their input, guidance, and suggestions, either positive or negative, to what we're going to present them, so that we as staff and council have a better idea of where the businesses are currently today, what they'd like to see in the future, and really so that they kind of know what's going on, because some of them, while I've been making calls or walking in person, were not aware that the city council approved a general plan that had a downtown specific plan concept in it. And they were like, so what's that all about? And I explained to them kind of what it really is, but I didn't get into the intricacies, because we'll be doing that at that March 24th meeting. But a lot of them were interested. They're a little cautious because they don't know what it is. So some were like, so what does this mean for us? Or most of them, when I call, that I know were interested in participating. Some of the businesses that are fairly new, I've never contacted before, or haven't had a chance to meet the owner or the manager of the place, wanted to know why the city was calling in general. They thought they were in trouble or something like that. So as soon as they realized I wasn't code enforcement or billing, and I was from economic development, they were a little bit more lenient with me in terms of what they wanted me to say. So that was definitely good. But we've been getting some good response from those businesses. We're excited for that meeting. So the items that I kind of jotted down that were discussed at the last meeting were the Economic Development Committee really looking for a clear purpose for this project, establishing a vision and goals. We discussed possibility of having a website and marketing, the devotion of resources to the project, zoning and downtown design criteria, possible business or attraction incentives, the utilization of consulting services, and I added a couple more that weren't discussed, but I thought may be of the committee's interest to discuss tonight, which is various tools utilized to revitalize or develop downtown or Main Street areas. So I have some of the ideas that I have on that. I don't know exactly where the committee wants to go with it, but I did jot down some ideas or a purpose for what I think the city council has directed the committee to work on. So I think how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things listed for purpose. One is to inform. So to inform the community, the businesses, what the vision for the downtown area is. I wrote down the word listen. So receive feedback from the business community. It's a lot. I think a wise person one time told me, I think it was you, Chair, that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So in this scenario, we need to utilize those ears. and listen to the businesses and listen to what they're saying, and whether that matches the current vision of the city and the council. It might not, but we need to understand what they're looking for. Third would be to analyze. So once we've listened, we can kind of figure out what we have going on for us. Fourth would be to create. I left open, so we don't necessarily know what to create yet, whether we create programs, projects, incentives, various marketing materials, and so forth. And last but not least is to implement. So once we have those things, we start actively pursuing those and working towards that vision and goal of the city council. So I don't know if we really have a need to define a vision for this committee's actions for the downtown. So the city council did adopt a vision that I really like for the downtown itself. And I think as long as we know that that vision has been established and that we should follow that, that's really kind of where the city council wants to see the downtown go. So I think as long as we keep that vision in mind for our workings on the committee, I think that would be helpful. So I'll go ahead and read that if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
So the downtown Beaumont will be the heart of the city, providing an exciting diversity of economic, residential, and cultural opportunities. It will be a vibrant and dynamic place to work, live, shop, and gather for special events. It will also be a pedestrian-friendly environment with comfortable sidewalks and an inviting streetscape. The downtown area plan will create a balanced and integrated mix of residential, office, retail, and civic land uses that generate daily activity in the daytime and evenings, and also create a lively and dynamic environment. This plan encourages opportunities for public gathering spaces and parks for civic and cultural events that are supported by a street network which meets the needs of pedestrians, bicyclists, and motor vehicles. So that concludes my initial intro to it. I think it's up to the committee on how to proceed tonight. If other people have been thinking about things as much as I have and have their own ideas or what they'd like to discuss, I think we can open it up to the committee members for discussion at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Warsinski. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments regarding item 2?
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to offer a suggestion. I have been spending time speaking to business owners and landowners, property owners of the downtown. I actually had several of them that had told me they'd be here tonight because I wanted to talk to the businesses and determine what we need to do. I think the direction that the general plan has for the downtown is a good direction, and it's going to happen. But as I said before, we need to move it along sooner rather than later. And so I get into some discussions with some property owners now, as well as others that are looking to come in, and I hear complaints from them. Not complaints, but concerns that they have. And my thought was if we could brainstorm on some of these ideas, because I know in earlier conversations, I know Mr. Getka had talked about some of the corporations for business owners that he was aware of. But if we could start just sort of brainstorming and talking about what we see as deterrents to keeping businesses or for businesses to be attracted. Right. Also, I think it's important, and this is one of my hopes, was that we would be able to start transforming the downtown in both ordinances, resolutions, structures by the city, purchasing property. Those are all the kinds of ideas. So let me just throw out a couple key points, and I won't discuss them in detail at all, but just so you understand where I'm going. Right. We don't have enough parking. Right. We have some businesses that come in that can't put in a business because they can't meet the parking requirements that are needed. We have some, unlike other cities that have their own electric department, we don't have electric incentives. We can't say to a new business starting, look, we'll waive your electric fee or your hookups or whatever. We do have sewer, And for some restaurants that come into or that come in, one of their highest startup costs is a connection, sewer connection. Right. I'm not saying any of this is possible, but I'm just saying some of the ideas that I'm thinking about. There are ideas that you have open parcels where you drive down Beaumont and you'll see there's a number of big pieces of open parcels. If we as a city don't provide direction on what kind of businesses we need to move towards our downtown business goal, we're going to be further behind. For example, if someone comes in and builds a multifamily, don't get me wrong, we need multifamily in Beaumont. Right. But if they build it in a section that would be better for our plan to be a bistro, maybe a couple other walk-up restaurants, things like that, we can provide some guidance by a lot of different means. We can, set rules. I think I mentioned before, there's a rule or an ordinance on 6th Street that if someone who's a residential property sells to a commercial property or retail, it will not go back to residential. The zoning will not change. So that means it will always be a retail or commercial. Gotcha. And then there's other things. I know that there's a number of cities that are now starting to purchase property. Buy property. The city doesn't pay property taxes on the property. And there's ways to take advantage of that. Another idea that has popped up a number of times is the city owns what we call the Grace Street building. Do you know where that is? Yes. Okay. That would be a great location to possibly look into the idea of incubating, bringing in small businesses, giving them a chance with support from city and from the chamber and from economic development for the county, to start to get their business off the ground, and then hopefully eventually we transition them to another location in downtown. Right. Once they're up and running. As you know, most people know restaurants most restaurants fail in the first year. Right. So those were some of the things, and I was hoping that 3 gentlemen I invited to come in would be here, and because they're telling me all these things, and I got this idea, I got that idea. How do I make it happen? I said, well, you're doing it. You talk to us. Right. I said, you need to come into the Economic Development Committee and sort of give people ideas, things that, I've never thought of some of these things that they're coming up with, which that's where I was hoping we could possibly go this evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Any other comments? And I think that makes sense. It might be important for us to have one of these, our meetings, just as a listening session to invite these gentlemen to reach out to them and encourage them and tell them we really need to hear from them and give them that period. I know we have a standing agenda that we use, but it would be great to have them here to interact and share their ideas and their concerns. I don't look at anything as criticism. I always look at it as an opportunity for improvement. And that's the important part. We can't know how to get better until we hear from the people who are out there working hard to make it work every day in business. So I'd support that 100%.
And can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
The March 24th, actually it's being sponsored by Jimmy Garcia, who's the owner of the Craft Lounge, and he was one of the gentlemen who was coming in today. And then it's also going to be supported or sponsored by AJ Patel, who has recently bought a number of properties in Beaumont. So he's more of a property owner. And then Anthony Colindres, sorry. Owner of the Cornerstone Barbecue. He's going to provide barbecue for that meeting. So we are inviting all the downtown business owners. I don't see why Economic Development Committee members couldn't be there. You have to be careful with a quorum, though. So there would have to be a limit to the number of committee members that could be there. But I think that's an opportunity also to sort of brainstorm with the business owners and see what issues they have. And I'll shut up at this point.
Ms. Laura.
So, just trying to make sure that I understand Mayor White's comments. So, I like the idea of having a brainstorming session. Is that going to occur on the sorry, a brainstorming session in the March 24th meeting, or are we going to have a brainstorming session here at one of the EDC meetings, or both?
No, my thought with our role in the March 24th meeting as a city was to provide a presentation of the downtown
Okay.
general plan, and then to inform the stakeholders at that meeting that the benefits of them getting together and starting to provide us with feedback that we don't get from our business owners. So my goal in that meeting was that it is driven by the property and landowners. I'm sorry, property and the business owners. But that we wanted to show them that we support that. I was hoping that today would be a great opportunity to do a brainstorm session. Just to throw out some ideas. I think Mr. Pard might show up. He's always got some great ideas as well. But I think if we just start, we've done this before in council, put up 20 ideas on a whiteboard and then start ranking them and see where we can, what we can do to see what other cities are doing with some of these issues. That's sort of what I was thinking.
Because, and the reason I ask is, maybe we need to get the word out and plan to have an agenda item for a brainstorming session so we can get those 20 items at our next meeting. We can be getting the business owners or property owners notified to attend to see what kind of a turnout that we get in our next meeting. Because obviously we don't want to wait till the March 24th meeting, because then we're going to lose another opportunity to do something here in EDC. So that's just a suggestion or a thought that kind of correlates with what your direction is, Mayor.
No, I think that's a good idea. I like the idea of bringing in other business owners.
Yes.
But I think we are properly agendized to have a discussion. Whether it's called a brainstorming or a discussion, we can do that. But I do agree with you on getting input from more of the business owners.
Well, and the reason I mention it is because the business owners are going to come at it with a different perspective that, at least for me, I don't
Exactly.
have. And so to sit in today and put up 20 items, maybe 3 of those 20 are ones that business owners would actually want.
Agreed.
So just a thought.
Young lady, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. What I suggested to Kyle, and the reason it's written or worded the way it is this week, and I thought this would be just a continuing agenda item on a monthly basis. We can change it to brainstorming if you like, or whatever language we want, but the idea would be between now and the March 24th meeting, and probably even thereafter, that this be a standing agenda item, so we can discuss it and continue to encourage those businesses to attend. Maybe we start with 2 or 3, and then we start to get more. And then back to Kyle's vision statement, I think that's an important place to start, because we've got kind of the outline and the shell of a economic development website that he's been working on, and we're going to kick that off with Civic Plus, our web designer. So I think it starts with the vision as far as the message and getting that out. That's going to help. And then having this as a standing agenda item, reword it, retool it, and do a brainstorming session with the business owners, I think is beneficial, would be.
I have a question for Mr. Orsinski. Is there a possibility of moving that March 24th date up earlier? Is there a reason we're having it so late in the month?
So to answer your first question, no, we cannot move it, since I've already sent out hundreds of letters inviting them to that meeting on that certain date, and I already have, I think, 20 plus businesses signed up to attend. So I would be very hesitant to alter that at this point in time. I think one of the reasons that we had scheduled it that far out was that we knew that the outreach was going to be fairly intense for that meeting. Sending out letters is fairly easy once you have the addresses and everything, but I don't envision all 200 of those letters to be opened and read and responded to. So really, it provides us time to actively pursue each of the individual businesses and as many of the landowners as we can get on the phone. The businesses are a little bit easier, because if they don't answer their phone, I can always just go knock on their door.
Right.
And assuming they're open, I can talk to them. The landowners who are in Newport Beach or Connecticut or Rhode Island, can't necessarily go contact them. So they've been a little bit harder to get a hold of. I have had, I think, maybe 4 or 5 conversations with landowners within the area. One just happened to be at Starbucks one day. So that was a win for me because they didn't even have to answer their phone. They probably wouldn't have answered their phone if they knew it was the city calling. But since he was at Starbucks, I got him. And he didn't say he was going to be able to attend for certain, but at least I pitched the idea and he knows about it. So I think that's one of the other concepts on why it was for the 24th, is that there is a lot of work going into trying to get as many people at that meeting as possible. And we were worried that if it was in a couple weeks, we weren't going to be able to do that outreach.
And I have a follow-up question then on that. Do we have the email addresses of most of these businesses on file?
We, out of the, let's just say 200, we'll round up to 200, right? So I probably have 130 of their email addresses. Now, that is the email address they registered when they had a business license, so it may have changed. In my interactions with them on the phone, I'm verifying that I have their current email address. So, and it also plugs the hole on my missing ones. So some of them that were missing, I said, well, I'd like to also send you the invitation letter via email, which is a hint that I need your email. So I've been able to acquire some of those as well. So hopefully by the end of this, I'm going to shore up a large percentage of those email on that list.
The reason I ask, just a thought, if the ones that we do have, if we could just send out an email blast asking them to list their top 5, maybe recommendations, what they would like to see, their vision, and see if we can come up with some kind of commonality among the respondents as to where, it could be a starting point for the March 24th meeting. We'd have kind of a heads up in advance as to what people are thinking, what they're maybe wanting to do, their thoughts, that type of thing.
Sure. I mean, it's possible that definitely we could send it out. I am a little bit wary of sending out somewhat of like a survey type of thing because in my profession, they sometimes don't go so well in terms of responses. So I think there's an industry average that you get back maybe 20%. Responses from the people that you send it to. And that's why we try to conduct in-person meetings here at the city, because I can kind of corner them and get them to respond in person, where if you're going to fill out the 15th survey that the city sent you, and maybe it's going to be read or maybe not, maybe we can ask a couple of the business owners that have arrived if they would participate in a survey if I emailed it out, or if you'd just be like, no, I'm not, I got a business to run. So I like the idea. Trust me, I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I just have found that a lot of times they don't really respond on things like that. So I think we may get better interaction with them at in-person meetings, or like the mayor suggesting, if they're able to form a group and submit comments to us on behalf of a group as well.
And if you would allow me just one moment to defer to His Honor to introduce our distinguished guests who have joined us this evening.
Thank you. Yes. So Anthony is the owner of Cornerstone Barbecue. You can tell by his hat. And he's also one of our planning commissioners. So he sits up here on a regular basis as well.
Welcome, Mr. Calandris. I got to tell you, you're one of my favorite people, and you don't even know me. You have contributed to my caloric intake since you opened, and you catered my daughter's engagement party, and it was a true success. So thank you so much for all of the great barbecue that you have given us. And then this other distinguished gentleman.
And Jimmy Garcia, right? And he's the owner of the Craft Lounge, and he's going to be hosting the meeting on the 24th. And he's one of the guys I get into discussions about. We don't have enough parking. We need different CPUs. I mean, all those kinds of issues. And that's what I was hoping to get from feedback. And maybe we can ask them,
Fantastic. Welcome, Mr. Garcia, and thank you so much for your gracious offer to host an opportunity for businesses to gather on the 24th. Can't wait to get there and shake a few hands. I'm an Oklahoma boy, so we believe in the 3-foot rule. When we're within 3 foot of you, we shake your hand and introduce ourselves. So can't wait to do that. The mayor had begun the discussion before you all had arrived shortly with some thoughts and ideas, and Mr. Warsinski and other members had chimed in. So I'm going to let him agree again, kind of reintroduce the discussion, and maybe you all might have some thoughts or ideas that you would like to share with this body. And certainly what we do is gather information through Mr. Warsinski and his team, and of course pass that information on to the mayor and the council as they've directed us to do. So certainly, Your Honor.
Thank you. So in conversations at their businesses, when I'm picking up barbecue food, or yes, I have a beer once in a while at the Craft Lounge as well. I hear from, I had a couple good conversations with Anthony where he was talking about looking to move into a bigger location. And he was mentioning that there are other cities in the area that are very aggressive in trying to steal our businesses from Beaumont. He also pointed out to me that across the street from his business, there is an empty lot. And that empty lot, if it's not kept up, it doesn't help the businesses down there. And with Jimmy, some of the questions or concerns that he has, and I'll let him speak more to this, I hope he will. First of all, he's also got a background in city. What was your role in Banning?
With the city of Colton, I was the water supervisor for the water department.
Okay, okay. And then he talks about some of the businesses that can't come in and buy out. So, for example, there's a residence down the street on Beaumont Avenue that's for sale. And if you're a business and you want to buy that and bring your business in, if you don't have the parking, that's something you're going to go somewhere else. And also some of the issues regarding street closures, things like that. So I was hoping to get them to sort of just pick their brains, and I know Jimmy likes to talk, so we can start with him. And Jimmy, you can tell me some of the things that you tell me all the time. Where we can go with our downtown area.
Right. For what I do, for the business that we do, pedestrian traffic is huge for us. Encouraging businesses that have, like with Anthony's and with ourselves, having restaurants and having bars or having boutiques or something along those lines, service type businesses where we promote pedestrian traffic is huge for us. And I think Anthony would agree with that. Having that foot traffic in front of us is great. The problem is with a lot of the businesses that want to come down here, and we've looked at doing a second business in town. It's difficult. It's very difficult. When you get that roadblock as far as like parking, you have to have so many parking spots per square footage in a downtown area is difficult, considering that we have a lot of street side parking. We have a lot. Those are very difficult things to get past for a new business to come through. And then you couple that with the fees that we have to pay for, say, a restaurant. I think a fees for a sewer hookup for a restaurant is $15,000. That's a whole range, a kitchen. That's a whole kitchen or a hood or anything in that realm that business owner has to pay to get his business opened is now going towards a fee for a sewer hookup that already exists. Now, I'm not saying we should get away, not have to pay that. I get it. Working for cities, I understand that those fees have to be paid. But things like deferrals, a 2-year, 3-year deferral on those fees might alleviate some of that thing and kind of boost businesses want to come down here, want to see those kind of things. Slowing down the traffic going up and down Beaumont Avenue, even 6th Street, adding more parking lots, maybe taking away, there's really not a whole lot of reason I see for 4 lanes going up and down Beaumont Avenue. Slowing that down, beautifying the whole thing, and then just basically making it so businesses and investors want to be in downtown and upgrade the downtown area, just revitalize the entire thing. it's difficult. It's difficult for a new business to come into the area, pay the fees, and then get slapped with parking ordinances or whatever it might be from the city. That might be a little on the archaic side. They're a little old. That's the issues that we see. We need to have more businesses in here where we keep Beaumont dollars in Beaumont. As it stands now, the way I see it, a lot of my customers, I'm not saying like for an entertainment value, but they go to Redlands, they have dinner, they have drinks, they do that out of town. We're losing Beaumont dollars to Redlands, Yucaipa, Palm Springs, these areas, when we should be keeping those Beaumont dollars, tax dollars here in town. But with the ordinances in place now, it's not gonna happen. So we need to do something to kind of upgrade that downtown area, create that pedestrian traffic, make people want to stay in Beaumont, and create some of these anchor businesses. I believe Anthony's business and my business are both anchor businesses where other businesses want to be around us because of what we do. So we want to create that kind of thing downtown. So the revitalization of downtown is important to like both myself, I'm sure Anthony, and any other new businesses that are coming in. But that can't happen with the ordinances that are in place now. So,
Thank you. Mr. Calandris, some thoughts?
Well, for the most part, thank you guys for having the discussion. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to share our comments. We appreciate that. And as a small business owner, we do talk a lot, right? Like, and I know we have a general plan of what we want the downtown to be, and it looks good on paper, and it sounds good when we're talking about it. And I think instead of seeing a 5-year or a 10-year, because I know things, there's a process, right? So instead of seeing it then, there's a lot of businesses now that are not only hurting, there's a couple businesses that are around me that have already shut down. And whenever I see a business struggling, and it's like, it hurts me because I'm doing okay, like my business is doing good, and we're very blessed where we're at. And I feel like I dropped the ball because I'm for small business because I'm one of them, So if somebody shuts down, it's like, damn, what could I have done to do something for them? And I do now. When I opened, it opened my eyes to every dollar does count. Even if I just go buy something small, or if I go and I share a lot of people's social media things like today, and I try to keep my money here. Now since I've opened, we've networked a lot, and we've brought in a lot to help other small businesses. So definitely everything that Jimmy said is definitely true. We need to do more, and there's things that I think that we could set in place now that's not going to be that cost effective, that we could do. And even in our part, like for myself, I'm always trying to beautify Beaumont. Whatever I do, if you go to my store right now, we're painting. We're always doing something new just to make it better. And I don't own the locations, but I'm always investing, because not only do I want customers to show up, it's for the city, So I don't mind leaving my mark and said I left it beautiful, I left it elevated, and I want not only everybody that works for the city to say the same thing after they leave their position, after they go in to get a promotion or they retire, that they said, I elevated the city. I did something to elevate the city, that it wasn't just time spent. It wasn't just talking. It wasn't just, because there's a lot, and I get it. There's a lot of overhead to run a city. Cause same thing with me. So I'm like, whenever somebody asks me for something new, not right now. we don't need it. We could do with older range right now. We could in time we'll grow and we'll get something new. But small things, small wins. We if we get that hope that the city is behind something, then business owners are gonna be like, okay, well maybe I could. If they're investing, they got some skin in the game. I could put more skin in the game. Right. And I think that's where we're lacking. That there's for myself personally, I feel like there isn't really like nothing said or nothing done. And again, I know we have the discussion, we have the general plan, and it's gonna happen. But for most business owners that are that I've talked to, they're like, when? We don't see nothing. And I'm like, well, it's coming. And I'm always talking to business owners. I'm like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And I feel like a broken record, you know, because I've been saying it for 3.5 years now that I've been in the downtown. I'm like, it's gonna happen. But I always tell them, like, what are you doing? You know, like, what I don't ever put it on the city, because it's my job to push my business forward. You know, it's not the city's job, but it would help, you know, that, you know, hey, you know, the city got my back. So then I know that whenever I can't do something, the cities will be there for me, you know, to do it. And slowing down traffic, definitely needed. You know, I think small things as far as, I know that the Uptown City of Yucaipa, they're doing facade improvements. That would be a nice thing to do. I know that they're doing grants as far as putting in kitchens and things of that nature. They're definitely different fees. And then I've talked to City of Rialto, I talked to Yucaipa, I've talked to the desert over there, and these are all people that want something like my business to go out there. And in here, I feel like we have a lot of unique businesses that if we would just help the existing businesses, then there's gonna be other businesses that are like, hey, let's go over there, because we already have a lot of. We don't. There's definitely we need new business, but there's businesses that are already existing that it won't take that much to take their business to another level and grow. And then once we see that come to fruition, then other businesses will be like, yeah, that's where I want to be. You know, they're taking care of their people right there. You know, because sometimes it feels like you're a stepkid or something. You know, like you taking care of brand new businesses showing up, and I've been here. You know, we've been paying sales taxes. We've been doing what we're supposed to do. How come you guys are not taking care of us? Like what? And again, we could, I guess, I don't know, you know, something that just shows that hope that, like, hey, we're here for you guys. We haven't forgotten. And again, it's small things, small wins that we could do. I believe that will go far with businesses, because again, I've seen businesses close down, and I know a couple that are on the brink of shutting down. So I'm working with them personally to try to see what we could do to revamp their businesses to continue going on, because I don't like small businesses shutting down personally. But that's
Thank you so much. Let me say this, and just as an observation, not only to the mayor and to council member Laura, because they're here, while we have just the ability to make recommendations and share our thoughts and ideas with the council, certainly we want to do anything we can, working with Mr. Warsinski through his office, to make those recommendations. I am thankful that you all are going to have the activity on the 24th. I know the mayor said that some of us are allowed to go up to a certain number because of our capacity here on this committee, but I hope that we can be there and jot those ideas down, because I think it'll be important for us to share that. I don't want to lose you to the desert. I'd still drive out to the desert for your barbecue, but I don't want to lose you to the desert. I like that corner down there, and I always park right there in front. The idea is that if we could get together on the 24th and again, get a chance to greet some of you and then put those ideas, as the mayor had suggested. We have a council member and a mayor right here who are encouraging and supporting this idea. What they can do as a council, I don't know. But I think some of these ideas, like you said, deferring some of the fees to give a business to get a chance to get on their feet, with them understanding that it's going to come down the pike later, or some type of payment plan or whatever that might be, would probably be ideal to get people up and running. So great ideas. Let me ask, because I don't want to do one bunch of talking, Your Honor, but are there any questions or comments from our committee members that are here and those that are in the Zoom rooms for these distinguished gentlemen? We want to take advantage of them while they're here, because these are outstanding ideas and outstanding comments. I've made a note, and of course they're going into our minutes, so that will help us and keep it a record of those suggestions so that we can formally write those into recommendations to our city leadership.
I do have a question for both you gentlemen.
Ghetto.
If you had to prioritize development between the Sixth Avenue or Sixth Street and Beaumont Avenue, and I think I might know the answer, but which street would you recommend the city focus in on first in developing with single lanes, angular parking, and reinvestment? And either one of you can feel free to answer that.
Well, I'm on Sixth Street and Jimmy's in Beaumont. Yeah. So, I think and I know that it seems like unreasonable, right, to move, to do the work. For me, I'm like, I feel like if we do anything to Beaumont Ave, the city would be upset, and they very voice their comments as far as how we do traffic, and in any way they're always finding a way to say that we're not doing a good job on that, and they voice their opinions social media wise and whatnot, that the way that we handle traffic is not good. So I thought about it very, very hard on how we could slow down traffic, but just enough so that it allows traffic to still be able to flow, right? So my recommendation as far as which street we could definitely focus L shape, right? I'm thinking, we don't got to do the whole Beaumont Ave, because there's like Beaumont Ave, once we get after, I think, what is it, like maybe 8th Street, there's a little bit more residential, and then it's a big gap there. As far as from my way from Beaumont to California, I think that would be the section to focus on. So not only Beaumont Ave, but 6th Street as well. And then as funds are available, because again, something like that is going to take time, and we can't congest everything right off the bat. So I would say we focus on a small portion of Beaumont Ave, 6th Street. I'm thinking, I like the roundabouts that they have in the Uptown. I think that's super cool. And that would alleviate as far as people it'll slow them down enough, but still keep traffic going. Because I was thinking the other day, I'm like, do we need a light? Again, the city folk would hate another light there, and then they'll be like, why did they put a light? And I'm like, okay. So I think roundabouts would slow them down, still be able to manage traffic to go forward, and then it would add spaces to park, and then it would just look nicer. I think as far as people walking, we need to create that accessibility so that it'll be allowed. We don't got to cross the whole way, but the medium there, they'll cross and then they'll wait or walk around and be able to get to the other side. Just a safer route, especially with people driving Beaumont Ave and even 6th Street. People drive fast, and we need, definitely, if we want that people walking or even using bicycles around there, we need them to slow down, because or else we'll ourselves create something as a hazard, and we definitely don't want that. So definitely want to slow them down, and I think that would be a solution. And but I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have more people adequate or educated on how to manage the traffic there to make it easier, But that's the way that I would see it. Again, just because Beaumont Ave is very big, and if we're talking about 6th Street goes all the way down to the 60, and that'd be a big project. So I would focus L-shaped type, where it would just create that small downtown, and then as we continue to grow, we could be adding on to it, depending on where it grows, where it starts flourishing more, where it's needed, That's what I would suggest. But Jimmy, what do you think?
So there's portions of what Anthony said I agree with. I think the 6th Street would probably be the easiest one to do. I think that 6th Street, I don't know, between Michigan to the freeway would be great to put some angular parking in. It helps out with the pedestrian traffic and stuff like that. I think that would be the easiest one to do. So that would probably be where I would start first, is that 6th Street corridor. As far as Beaumont Avenue goes, I mean, the necessity from the freeway to 6th Street isn't there. I don't see a purpose for that. We have bakers and we have parking lots for both the gas station, the liquor store, and everything else like that. So that's kind of a wash there. But from Beaumont, from 6th Street all the way up to, say, like 12th or 13th Street, there I see a need for some angular parking, whether it be in the center lanes or the outer lanes, turn those into. I think Upland has a good example of how they did the inside lanes and with the crosswalks across, slow down the traffic, and they had inside lanes. It was easier for cars to pull in and out of the inside lanes versus the outside lanes up against the curb. I think that angular parking from, like I said, 6th Street all the way up to like 12th or 13th would help out, because there's a lot of houses, a lot of businesses. Those houses, they're residential currently. I don't know if there's anything in the pipeline that's going to say that they're going to be businesses later. I mean, they're zoned for both, for commercial, retail, and residential. So with that in mind, I think by putting the angular parking in, whether it be residential or not, will add to the traffic slowing down. We slow down the traffic, either whether it be the inside lane or outside lane. There's room for things like parking meters, things like that, to help alleviate any kind of, or to get some more funding in. Adding a couple of more stop signs, maybe one at 7th Street. We already have one at 8th and all the way up. Will help slow down that traffic at Beaumont Avenue. And that can only help too during, say apple season up in Oak Glen, when people are getting off the freeway and going up Beaumont Avenue. Now they're slowing down. They're starting to see some of our businesses. They're starting to see Anthony's spot. They're starting to see my spot. And hopefully they come back at a later time, not just during apple season or during Cherry Festival or something like that. But slowing that traffic and using the parking to kind of do that, I guess, would be beneficial for both for businesses on Beaumont Avenue and 6th Street. But to allude to what Anthony's saying, I think 6th Street would probably be the first one to do, because it's already partially done. The area between Beaumont Avenue and just here at City Hall, we already have angular parking. So that shows a good example of that. It can be done going down 6th Street, and we can use that to slow down traffic, so.
Thank you. Ms. Gedeka, do you have any follow-up?
I have a question for Mr. Warsinski. I'm just curious, we did the 2020 city plan a while ago. I wasn't involved with that, or I'm not sure what company we used for that consulting group. But is there an option to maybe get a consultant group that specializes only in revitalizing downtown areas? Is there an option that in our budget we could maybe look at that? Or did the group that already did our current study, were they pretty well schooled in that?
So the city hired a company to do the general plan, which is where the downtown specific plan came from. Those companies typically specialize in land use regulations and zoning and traffic design in terms of street design. The city also hired the firm that did the economic development strategic plan, more of a strategic planning firm that looks at market analysis, business workings, interest level within the city. I don't know if either of those two would be the best to do really what I would consider, or what economic developers call like a downtown business plan. And a downtown business plan is really going to be something that's driven by market analytics. And it's going to sound weird, but you don't necessarily utilize the build it and they will come concept. You really want the businesses and customers, whether they're existing customers or if you can identify potential customers, to tell us what you want to build. So having Anthony and Jimmy chime in on what they think would work is exactly that, versus for us to design something that we think is great in a silo and then implement it. It could be foolish or it could be wrong. So there are firms, they may not just specialize in one, in downtowns, but there probably are firms that the city could entertain that type of service from. I honestly have no clue what that would cost. I do know that I've had a lot of, I wouldn't say training because there's no training for downtowns, but I've been through multiple professional courses on revitalization of cities, downtown revitalization. I've done a lot of reading on the subject. And pretty well versed in terms of what we would need to put together. But having an outside firm, and that hits that resources thing that we were talking about earlier, at least I had mentioned from the previous meeting, what resources does the city want to devote to this effort? It could definitely be something that we could look into.
One last thing I have for Mayor White and our fellow council person here. Jimmy mentioned, I think you both mentioned ordinances and potential impact fees that might be a barrier for a new business to come in. Do we all know what those specifically are, or can you guys put together a list, or does the council know what those might be offhand, or?
I have a pretty good feeling I know because I have heard it from many businesses that are not here. I rarely hear about it from existing businesses until after they've opened. Because a lot of times they will come in, they'll share with me their business plan, and I can tell them up front what fees they may be interested in paying. And these two gentlemen are examples of that. They talked to the city prior to opening so we could lay out those fees, and they knew how to package those things into their business plan. You have other businesses that buy a property or sign a 5-10 year lease, and they've never contacted the economic development department. So then they start working on their building, they start acquiring money for their restaurant, because I think we like restaurants, right? We think that those would be viable within the downtown, same as a brewery or a distillery or an entertainment venue. They have their budget that they think they're going to spend on the building, and then they get done with that, and then they're looking at city fees, and they're like, wait, but why do I have to pay city fees? My building's already here. Because a lot of people that build buildings understand the city fees. They get those impact fees to mitigate their impacts, but they don't think about an existing building. And that also happens with my colleagues in other cities. So this is not a Beaumont-centric issue. It's not like we're the only ones with those issues. The mayor mentioned the utility incentives, which makes me jealous because I know my colleagues / competitors in other cities offer those things. They say, look, to come in my city, I'll give you a discount on your electric. We don't have that here. We don't have control of water here, like where Jimmy came from in Colton. That city controls the water, so there may be incentive rates on that utility. But we do have sewer, and I have talked to, I couldn't even tell you how many businesses that look at moving into the city in general, anywhere in the city. They say, what are my fees going to look at? And I don't calculate them anymore, but I give them a ballpark estimate of where they would be. And for a business that's around, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet, you're looking at probably $15,000 to $20,000 on sewer fees, depending on volume and what you're doing. And that just happens to scare some of them away. And some of them have told me, I have $50,000 to open this business. I knew that my kitchen, because a lot of the downtown businesses or the buildings don't have kitchens. So to upgrade that building, and Anthony can speak to this because he did it, to upgrade that building to meet Riverside County Health Department standards with the kitchen, Mike, you could speak to this as well. It's not cheap. So that eats into their money. They obviously have their upfront costs of hiring or their lease or rental agreement. And then you factor in fees and why they may have the money to pay those fees, you've ate into the kind of their ongoing dollars that they thought they were going to be able to spend to keep that business operating and active for the first year or two. I think that's typically what most startups are looking to do, is have enough money to survive the first 2 years. So that's definitely something that we hear about here. So I do know which ones they're talking about. In terms of ordinances, very familiar with our parking ordinance, our zoning ordinance, as the mayor alluded to, on how on 6th Street, if a business goes to commercial, or sorry, not a business, but if a residence changes to a commercial, it can't go back. I don't believe off the top of my head, and I'll have to double check, that is true on Beaumont Avenue. But
No, it's not. And, a good example of where we have done this was with the movie theater. The movie theater came to us and said that, it's quite an investment to set up a movie theater, and it's not easy to be repurposed if it goes belly up. So they asked us if we would defer some of their diff fees, some of their development impact fees. So, it's something we can do. I think what we have to do is, again, like what we did tonight, bring in a couple more business owners and find out what they're being offered from other cities. And also from cities they've come from, how cities help them. And I think also Kyle can help us a lot with just networking with his colleagues in other cities.
I think, yes, Ms. Ma'am, go ahead.
I'd just like to circle back to your first question about consultants and design concepts and things of that nature. If we go back to the presentation that we're going to kick off and give at the meeting on the 24th, it's got some of these ideas that these business owners are talking about, some of the angled parking, whether it's in the center or on the side, and all those. So there's a design out there, and I think what we want to do is get it out there in the community, get buy-in. Is this the right direction we want to go? I don't necessarily know that we need to, are you suggesting perhaps we look for another consultant to add to that? Or I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit on that, so I understood the direction there.
No, I'm not asking for that or consider it. I was curious about the background of the company that we hired for the design.
Because we really like
And I
that
know-
piece, or at least from what I
Right.
understand from the group, is everybody likes the piece. We want to get it out there. We want to get the photos and the concept out there and get feedback from the community on, do we think this will work? And then start working backwards in regards to incentives and how do we get there? How do we?
I'm not asking to reinvent the wheel here. Was curious about the design concepts and who
Okay.
developed it and what were their expertise.
And I don't remember the name of the company, but I can get it for you and send it to you.
Oh, that's okay. It's a good design. I've seen it. And
Okay.
I hope if at the March meeting, we had more of the condensed version like you had the other prior meeting.
yes, that's exactly what I
Not the whole
presented.
PowerPoint you sent me.
Yeah.
I had to dig really deep to find that towards
Correct.
the end. But no, that was a great presentation. I think the ideas
Absolutely.
are substantial. But anyway, that's all I had. Thank you.
And I think clearly, because thank you for saying that there are at least 3 things that should happen or will happen at that 24th meeting. One, of course, you'll roll out the multi-year plan that you have for downtown. 2, we would listen to business and industry there at that time to discuss some of those possible incentives or our ideas that we can suggest to our leadership here in the city, to our council, and those orders that you can identify that might be of concern. And we'll get a chance to, of course, meet them and get their feedback on the plans that you all suggest. And then thirdly, which one of the suggestions you made also is that we need to be listening to our businesses tell us what needs to be downtown. Like you said, they know what will be successful in that particular area based on the success they had. And then, of course, I think a fourth, which would be a bonus, maybe having a brew or two and taste of barbecue would be a great thing as part of the 24th. So I concur wholeheartedly with His Honor when he says that we need to invite a couple more businesses. Hopefully they can come to the next meeting to provide some additional feedback. And we can
Yeah, I
ask them
think
what
Mike
they've been
and I can
offered.
get a couple more business
Right.
owners to come in.
And I certainly, again, want to thank Mr. Garcia and Mr. Calandras for bringing their expertise and their experiences to us. It's because of their experiences that we can find out where gaps exist so we can always make this city better and better. Certainly, we don't want to lose anybody to Redlands. We don't want to lose anybody to Yucaipa. We don't want to lose anybody to San Jacinto or to the desert. We want them here in Beaumont. And so if we can make recommendations and suggestions to our leadership that'll help that to happen, that I think is our responsibility to do so in a diplomatic and a respectful fashion for their consideration. So absolutely. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for that, without a doubt.
Chair, I think Mr. Pardon had
Yeah. Oh, City Manager Part, you hiding behind this computer. I'm so sorry, sir. Did you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of confirm, the planning consultant firm we use is Widening and Associates. They are a qualified planner, they do. But they do, general large area plans, they do, specific plans, small area plans. And so they were part of an overall consulting team that included environmental assessments. It included, it was Ramey and Associates, I don't know if y'all heard that. They are a qualified firm. Downtown specific plans, small area plans are a component of the services that they do offer. So they were a qualified firm, and they do have experience in that arena of developing those downtown specific plans like we have.
Fantastic. Any follow through, Mr. Gadd, any thought? Okay. Thank you. Are there any additional comments or thoughts or ideas before we move to our next item? This has been a very, very healthy discussion. I want to thank the mayor and also again thank these gentlemen for coming and joining us. And you are always welcome to come and join us without a doubt to share thoughts, because this is going to be a standing topic that Ms. Warsinski and his team are leaving on this agenda. So even as you talk to your colleagues out in the community, tell them, go to that meeting and tell them what your concerns are. Obviously, we're here to listen, and we're here to keep our businesses happy. We need you here. Just that simple, point blank. We definitely need you. All right. Any other comments, concerns, questions? I haven't heard much from our folks in the Zoom. Are they still with us?
Yeah, we're here.
All right, fantastic. Usually I hear something from you, Mr. Benecki. I hope you're all right up there.
I'm doing fine. I got my ears listening to what's being said, and a lot of good things are being said. We always have to keep in back of our minds the costs of doing whatever we come up with and how we're going to finance it, because nothing gets done without putting some money into it. And there has to be some shared responsibilities there, I believe, between the business community and the government, or else it just will not happen.
Yes,
anyway,
sir.
Moving in the right direction. Very, very pleased with the discussion.
Thank you, sir, for that observation. That said, we're going to move on to item 3. I know you've given us a lot of information on Mr. Warsinski, but we'll defer to you for any updates of projects from city staff.
Thank you, Committee Chair. I don't have any major projects for you today. We are moving closer towards the Pennsylvania Widening project. I can't give you a firm ETA on when we'd be going out to bid on that, but I know that Public Works is working on finalizing the documents to construct the widening of the street. We're acquiring right-of-way and permissions to grade and so forth. So we're much closer to the finish line than we were when I first presented that project to you all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I tell you what, it got a whole lot better as soon as they got those railroad tracks flattened out. I can keep my front end alignment a little bit longer. So thank you so much for that. I'm happy whenever there's improvement, man. And Beaumont is looking good. So we're getting there. Let's see. Let's move on to topics. I'm sorry. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Warsinski regarding this report? Questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, then we will move on to topics for future agendas. While we've already decided that item 2 that we discussed under action items is going to remain a standing topic, we've already decided that our leadership is going to invite some additional business leaders to provide feedback to us, and then we'll be prepared to go to the activity on the 24th to greet and meet and support Mr. Warsinski and his team in making that presentation. But we have two other items here that may be open for future discussion, to include intro to new business programs, and then, of course, workforce development apprenticeship programs. Are either of these items of interest to the committee to move up to action items or discussion?
I like the ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you'd like to have both of them discussed?
I think so. I think they both have a lot of merit.
All right. With that said, Mr. Warsinski and his team will make those available for future discussion, and we'll get some talking points on those. All right. Are there any other topics that are not on here that perhaps any committee member is interested in advancing for discussion? Mr. Getka?
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious for maybe future agenda topics. Everybody's probably familiar with the Coachella Valley, San Gregorio Pass corridor service program that they're looking at, Riverside County. That's something they're looking at in their plans, to have a train stop on a commuter train route in either Beaumont or Banning. And I'd like to know if that's something that our committee would like to in the future discuss.
You know, I can tell you, I know, Mr. Warsinski, some time ago you had mentioned something about a train. It's been a while. There was a discussion of that, and there was some condition that was tied to that.
Yes, sir. So I think what you're thinking about is we in our general plan have a transit-oriented development zoning around Pennsylvania and Second, and that was envisioned to be able to accompany or accommodate a future rail stop if one were to occur there. You may have also heard us talk about the planning process for the commuter rail out to Coachella. It's been in the planning stages for many, many years, and I think they've made a little bit more progress as of late, and I think that's what Member Getka is referencing, is they've kind of refined it a little bit and maybe have a couple different options versus before, whether it was feasible or infeasible. So if that's something that the committee would like to hear and discuss or provide feedback on, I can obviously reach out to the entity that's planning that type of thing, or at least studying it, and bring back a report.
That would be great. I know
Excuse me,
Yes,
just to
sir.
jump in, I sit on the RCTC Coachella corridor subcommittee, and I think that's where that document, that printout is from. And they are more than willing to come and speak to groups who want to know more. So
Fantastic,
you know,
yeah.
we could get that. Probably take a couple months to put it together. But
That would be great as well. Absolutely, to hear straight from them. That would be wonderful. Thank you. All right. Are there any reports from any of our committee members? Reports from committee members? Mr. Warsinski.
Job fair at the Albert A. Chatney Community Recreation Center next Wednesday, which is February the 16th, from 9 a.m. to noon. So if you know any businesses that have yet to sign up, my deadline to sign up is the day before, so we're very easy to work with. Now, if the thing goes crazy and we run out of spaces, then that might be a problem for future events. But at this point in time, I think I have over 30 businesses that have signed up. We have opened it up to places that are not just in Beaumont. So we've received some interest from Riverside, Redlands, Morongo. All are going to be in attendance. So we try to limit it to Beaumont businesses if it's full, but since we've moved locations to the Chatney Center, it's opened up a lot more spaces. So we're more than happy to assist our neighboring communities in hoping their businesses can hire some people as well.
Fantastic. Any additional reports? Ms. Rader.
I want to thank the city for all the assistance that was given to us for our Citizen of the Year event, which was Thursday a week ago, and it was a great success. And any of you were there, I hope you had a good time. And the city helped us make that happen under these COVID situations, and it worked out well. Also, February 11th, which is this Friday, Dr. Della Condon will be our speaker at Good Morning Beaumont Breakfast, speaking on how to be the best manager you can. It's at the Sand Trap, starts at 7:30. If you call the office tomorrow, you can still get a reservation. And then on March 11th, we have Clark Botha as our speaker. And he is a pharmacist at Loma Linda. He spoke about 2.5 years ago. And he will specifically be speaking on emergency preparedness in relationship to your pharmaceuticals and the opioid crisis. But when he was here before, it was a great opportunity for everyone to just ask him any questions you had about pharmacy, Medicare, Medi-Cal. You could just, how often do you get a pharmacist, in an environment where you can just ask him any question you want? So that should be a very good meeting also. So I hope you can all attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rader. With that, are there any additional reports from members? Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
I have one quick comment on the LPGA
Yes, sir.
Symetra Tour. Symetra no longer is the title sponsor of that developmental program for the LPGA. They've got a new sponsor, and it's Epson Corporation. It's going to give them a little more international exposure with having this as the title sponsor. IOA is still the tournament sponsor for our tournament here, and it bodes well for the future of this type of tournament, this developmental tournament for the young ladies pursuing a career in professional golf. So there was a great article in the Record Gazette last Friday talking about this, and recommend you get a copy if you haven't already seen it. But I'm going to pass that along for your information this evening.
Thank you, sir. Additional reports? Yes, ma'am.
One final thought. I know we're on Betty's radar and the Chamber's radar. We're trying to get on our downtown business plan on her agenda as well at the mayor's request. So trying to piggyback any vacant months or anybody that is willing to reschedule, you let us know, or anybody drops out, we'd be happy to fill in.
Yeah, we talked to Kyle today, and I gave him some options. Hopefully it will work out.
Good. Thank
We
you.
schedule out about 6 months.
I wanted to make sure the
on
committee
our-
knew that. Yes, I wanted to make
We're-
sure the committee
We're working
knew.
him in. We just have
Thank
to see
you.
if it's okay. But
Very good.
it's hard to say no to Kyle.
It was the mayor's request. I wanted to make sure the committee was aware. Thank you, Betty. I appreciate it. Oh.
All righty. Any final thoughts? Hearing none, then we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
It has been moved and properly second. Since we do not have to take account, I will say, everyone, please stay safe, have a wonderful evening, and be blessed with your families. Without a doubt, have a wonderful evening. And we are adjourned at 5:24 p.m. Thank you so much.